In the gospel today, we have the Beatitudes, and one of the Beatitudes means blessings. This revolutionary sermon that Jesus gives a couple times in his life, saying one thing that usually isn't blessed and then talking about why they'll be blessed. So today, one of the things is, blessed are you who mourn, for you will be comforted. So today for the homily, we're actually going to talk about mourning and grieving a little bit. At Holy Spirit Parish, in recent times, we've developed a grief group, and this has been pushed. There's always deaths at a Catholic church, but our number of funerals kind of went up a little bit, and within that, even more specifically, there was more younger people dying and some more extreme circumstances, and different people were asking if the church had anything, and we didn't really have anything systematic to help people with grieving. So through the urging of some people, especially Mike here in the front row who's going to talk, we ended up developing a grief group. Joe Dryce helped kind of research some things that we could do at the church, and then recruited Lisa Haas, who's in the front row as well. And people were allowed to come, and it would meet once a week, and it would be a closed group once they were interviewed to get into the group to see where they're at. And they meet and talk about grieving. There's going to be another round of it, so there's been 2 rounds already, and there'll be a third round. March 20th, we'll start the third round for people to get into it. In this group, amidst different things they talk about, one of the things they talked about was experiences of people trying to console them. So we have a group for grieving people, but we don't have any type of group to teach you how to help grieving people. And some of you have gone through some serious deaths in your life, I know that. But one of the things the group offered to do as a service to the church is come up and just talk about some do's and don'ts, or positives and negatives of when people were trying to console them, if it was helpful or not. So when they come up here, this list is very helpful. All of us have done something on the don't list. So we've probably all said something to a grieving person that wasn't the best thing to say. We learn all of our human interactions. You're allowed to grow in that. You're allowed to make mistakes. That happen. So I've said things on the wrong list. So if they say something, don't do this, and you've done it, don't get embarrassed and shut your brain off. Just keep paying attention and absorb whatever you can absorb, because it's awesome information and it's beautiful. And if you are grieving seriously, I hope you find some consolation in the experience that these people have had. So I'm going to ask them to come up now and present.
Thank you, Father. My name is Mike Kajowski, and what brought me to the grief group was the death of my son, Zach. At 24 years of age, was killed in a car crash a little over 2 years ago. He was at the doorstep of his adult life and was a big baseball guy. He accepted a position with the Washington Nationals prior to his life being cut tragically short. I will say one of the blessings that came from this terrible event was the interaction I had with the amazing people that made up our group. I'm forever grateful for having met them, and we continue to meet socially since our sessions have ended. I just wish we would have met under different circumstances. I would also like to convey our thanks to Father Dill, Lisa Haas, and Joe Dryce for having put this all together. During our grief group meetings, we talked about the fact that there were options for self-help for the grieving person, such as individual and group therapy. But we also came to realize there was very little in the way of educating and helping those who interact with that grieving individual, specifically what to do and say to them after their loss. The fact is, many people don't know what to do or say to someone after a tragic loss, and for that reason, we thought it was important to come up with some suggestions to help educate as many people as possible in this area, and Mass seemed to be the perfect venue. Having said that, as Father Joe just stated, please know that this is our attempt to help educate, and in no way should it be taken as being critical to anyone who may have said or done some of the things we're about to mention. We understand it can be a difficult interaction. First, I'd like to emphasize, and I think I speak for the entire group, when I say we are so thankful and blessed for so many thoughtful family and friends who gave us support during this difficult time. Collectively, our group came up with the following recommendations on how to help a grieving person. Be careful of using well-intentioned, common phrases such as, "I know how you feel." Unless you have gone through that specific type of loss, it is very unlikely you know exactly how they feel. For example, I lost my son. If you didn't lose a child, you probably can't relate. Statements such as, "Let me know what I can do. Call me if you need anything." While that's nice to offer, the grieving person most likely will never call or reach out to you for a favor. Give it time. Time heals. While time does take away some of the shock value, it doesn't really heal because the loss stays with you forever. It's a different life and always will be. There's life before Zach, now there is life after. Stay busy. Try not to think about the sadness. While true that staying active and busy helps in some ways, it's important to know that the grief has to be tended to, and that person will have many sad moments for the rest of their lives. Simply say things such as, "I'm sorry for your loss," or "How are you holding up?" Sometimes less is better. In the instance of the loss of a child, know that one child can never replace another. In my example, I had people say, "Maybe that's why God brought you a daughter." And that can be hurtful to hear. The fact is, I want Zach and my daughter. Also, be careful not to compare grief experiences. At least you had them for 24 years. So-and-so lost their child at 10. While factually true, it does nothing in terms of helping and can be hurtful or even cause anger. Instead, here are some examples of what would be helpful to a grieving person that our group came up with. Bring them a home-cooked meal. Instead of asking them, "Hey, what can I do for you?" just bring the meal. Let them decide whether they want to eat it or not, I guess. Just do things to help. Be a person of action rather than words. Offer to watch their kids if applicable. Mow the lawn or run to the store for them and drop off some basic necessities. All of these can be helpful, especially in the immediate days and weeks after the loss. Intense grief is emotionally and physically taxing, and the person going through it has very little energy left to tend some of these basic necessities. Check in every so often and don't stop. And that's the key there, don't stop. Reason being is grief is not linear in nature in its progression, meaning that you don't get better with each passing day. You can have terrible days years after the passing of a loved one. A simple text, card, email, phone call, or telling them they're in your prayers means more than you know. It helps us, but it also helps to keep our loved one alive, so to speak, to know that others are still thinking about them. In closing, I would like to thank all of you for your time and attention, and I would like to leave you with the following words, which are an accurate summary of what a person in grief is experiencing that my wife had found online. True, deep grief is grieving the past that now can never be repeated. It's grieving the present for what is not right here with us, and it's grieving the future that will never be and looks entirely different now. Deep grief creeps its way into every aspect of our life. It's everything we are missing, and it's everything they are missing. This is why grief lasts forever. Thanks for your time.
Hi, I'm Bart Kaminsky, and July 22nd in 2021, I lost my son to cancer, about a 5-month battle. Prior to that, I was kind of on your side of the fence with grieving. I didn't know, how to approach someone who was grieving. I didn't know what to say to them. I didn't know how long to wait till you could talk to them or any of the other things to happen. I just kind of had the standard, as Mike pointed out, the standard things with, hey, I know how you feel or something like that. But on July 22nd in 2021, I was educated in a different system and a different situation. So now I know, not the way I wanted to learn, but I know what grieving is, and to give you some ideas of how it helps, how you can help us, and you can help someone grieving, okay? I had a lot of questions, how long does it last, and people would say, well, after a year and a half, you should start being over it, or maybe 2 years. Well, I've met people that have been grieving for 11, 12, and 14 years. It doesn't go away. It never goes away. It comes back, and it comes back in different times. So one of the things is be careful around holidays like Christmas and Easter and things like that. They're the ones that hurt the most. And someone will say, well, maybe God needed another angel. Well, I think he's got enough of them up there. I don't know why he took mine. And he's in a better place. We hope he is. That's one of the things that we pray, that they do get there. And there's a reason for everything. Well, if there is, then I would really like to know what this reason is. So, and you have to stay strong. And that's a tough one, especially in the early parts of the year. Staying strong is really difficult. We would avoid going out in public, like to the store and that, when everyone would be there. We would try to go in off hours just so we wouldn't meet up with someone and then have to face the tragedy all over again. They wouldn't want you, he or she who passed away wouldn't want you to be sad. Well, there's no way stopping it. Believe me, it is tough. Now, some of the things is long. It's with you forever. It's just that what happens is after a year or two, it's been a year and a half, and we're in a situation where we're starting to get out a little bit more. We had friends calling us. First thing you do is don't stop calling them. We had friends that were calling us and asking us, come on over, have dinner, come on over. And we kept turning them down, and turning them down. Some of them stopped, some of them never stopped. And that wasn't pestering. That was actually waiting. And then finally, in about 9 months, we started accepting a lot of these people asking us to have dinner with them and that. And so we started that, and it's baby steps. So when you're approaching them, okay, don't stop, asking them. And like Mike pointed out, the things you should say and shouldn't say. But keep after them, and the other thing, like he said, call me if you need anything. We're not going to call you because we're going to feel like we're imposing. Just do it. I had one friend, he was driving by my house, and it looked like my lawn hadn't been mowed. So the next thing you know, he pulls up with his truck, and him and his son got out and pulled their mowers out and mowed and trimmed the yard. Just did it. People just dropped food, came over and said, here's a meal, here's a meal. Just do things like that. That's some of the things. And when you do talk, again, like he said, mention the person's name, like my son's name was Bart. Mention it. Hey, how's Bart? How are you doing with missing Bart? You know what? I have a story. And that's the biggest thing that really lights us up, is when you say, you know what? I remember when him and my son went out, and boy, remember they got in trouble like that? And yes. Remember when your son and they played ball and they had that thing? That is really important. So don't avoid saying the name, say it. And say the name and tell a story. Those are very, very helpful to us. Basically, that's it. Share your thoughts and loves and keep after us, okay? We are starting to realize that it is a year and a half now, but the first 6 months to a year was really tough. Again, thank you for your attention, and may God bless all of you.